A poor, desperate boy decides to sell his only toy car to help his sick mother. What he never expected was that the buyer would be none other than the billionaire who abandoned her years ago. The alarm went off at 5:30 in the morning. Claire opened her eyes and felt that familiar ache in her back, which now seemed to spread throughout her entire body. She took a deep breath, counted to 3, and got up, ignoring how much effort it took. In the bathroom, she avoided looking at herself in the mirror. She knew what she would find: deep, dark circles, pale skin, and that look that tried to hide her fear. She brushed her teeth and pulled her brown hair into a simple ponytail. "Mom?" Liam's sleepy voice came from the hallway. Claire took a deep breath and put on her best smile before opening the door. "Good morning, my love. You're up early today." The 5-year-old boy was standing in the hallway, holding his blue blanket and rubbing his eyes. "I had a dream about Dad. He had a big blue car and took me out for ice cream. Why doesn't he ever come visit us?" Claire felt a familiar tightness in her chest. Liam had never met his father, but ever since he started preschool, the questions had become more frequent. "Let's get breakfast ready, okay?" In the kitchen of the modest apartment where they lived, Claire prepared cereal with milk for Liam. Suddenly, she felt a strong dizziness and had to hold onto the counter. Her vision blurred for a few seconds. "Mum, are you sick again?" Liam asked, noticing her distress. Claire forced a smile. "Just a little tired, my love." But it wasn't just fatigue, and Claire knew it. 3 months earlier, during a routine checkup, the doctor had found something that shouldn't be there: severe anemia, kidney trouble, and an autoimmune condition requiring immediate treatment. She needed expensive medication, but the rent was already overdue, and bills were piling up in the kitchen drawer. "You can stay home with me today," Claire said, deciding that taking a day off work wouldn't be the end of the world. "I'm thinking of taking the day to rest." But as the morning wore on, Claire felt worse and worse. After lunch, she could barely stand up. "Liam, Mommy's going to lie down for a little while, okay?" "It's hurting again, isn't it?" Liam asked, his big eyes full of concern. "Just a little," Claire lied. "You can watch your cartoons." In the bedroom, Claire lay down and closed her eyes. The medications the doctor had prescribed were running out, and she had no money to buy more. Without realizing it, she fell into a deep sleep. Liam waited a few minutes. Silently, he opened the bedroom door and saw that his mother had fallen asleep. Her face, even in slumber, looked tired and pained. Determined, the boy returned to his room, grabbed his precious blue remote-controlled car, the gift his mother had given him on his birthday, and put it in his backpack. Carefully, he left the apartment. Going down the stairs wasn't difficult. Liam was used to doing it every day with his mother. Outside, he decided to go to the nearby park, where there were always adults around. Maybe someone would want to buy his car. At the park, Liam approached some people, but no one took a 5-year-old trying to sell a toy seriously. Then he spotted a well-dressed man sitting on a bench, checking messages on his phone. Sir, he called, tugging on the sleeve of the expensive coat. "Do you want to buy my car? It's remote-controlled and super fast." The man, Ethan Miller, looked down in surprise. "No, thank you, kid. Where are your parents?" "Please, sir," Liam insisted, his eyes pleading. "My mom, Claire, is sick and needs medicine. I know she cries at night when she thinks I'm asleep." Ethan froze at hearing that name. Claire, a name he hadn't heard in years, a name he'd tried to forget. "Claire? What's her last name?" "Foster," Liam replied. "Claire Foster. She's the best mum in the world, but she's really sick and doesn't have money for medicine." Ethan felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. Claire Foster, the woman he had left 6 years ago when the relationship started getting too serious, the woman he had abandoned because he wasn't ready for a commitment. "How much do you want for the car?" he asked, his voice trembling. Liam thought for a moment. 100? Is that enough for Mom's medicine? Ethan took several bills from his wallet, far more than 100, and handed them to the boy. "But you know what? I think you should keep your car." Liam's eyes widened at the sight of the money. But don't you want the car? No. I want you to take care of your mom. Liam smiled, carefully putting the money into his pocket. Thank you, sir. Now Mom will get better. Where do you live, Liam? You shouldn't be out here alone. I live over there, on the 3rd floor, Liam said, pointing to a building visible from the park. But you don't have to walk me. I know the way. I'm a big kid now. Liam waved goodbye and ran toward the building, holding the money and the car in his backpack tightly. Ethan stood there, watching the boy run off. Claire Foster. After all these years, fate was bringing him back into her life through her son. A son who wasn't his, but who had the same determination he'd seen so many times in Claire. A wave of guilt washed over him. He had abandoned her when things got serious, and now she was sick, alone, struggling to raise a child and buy medicine. Meanwhile, Liam returned home, carefully climbed the stairs, and went straight to his mother's bedroom. Claire was still asleep. The boy approached the bed and gently touched her arm. Mom? Mom, wake up. Claire opened her eyes slowly, disoriented by the pain and sleep. Liam? What is it, my love? Look, Mom, he said, taking the money from his pocket and placing it in her hand. Now you can buy your medicine and get better. Claire looked at the money, confused. Liam, what is this? Where did you get that money? I sold my blue car, Mom. Well, actually, the man didn't want the car, but he gave me the money anyway. He said it's for you to get better. Claire's heart froze. Liam, you went out by yourself, alone. But Mom, it was to help you. You need medicine. Claire hugged her son tightly. Never do that again, understand? It's very dangerous to go out alone. Who was this man? He was a really nice man, dressed fancy. He was surprised when I said your name. He asked for your last name and everything. Claire felt a shiver. Someone who knew her name. Did he tell you his name? I don't think so. He just asked where we lived, but I said I knew my way back alone. I wanted to surprise you. Claire looked at the money in her hands. It was enough to buy all the medicine she needed and pay the overdue rent. Promise me you'll never leave by yourself again, even if it's to help me. I promise. But now, you're going to buy your medicine and get better, right? Claire smiled, a mix of love, gratitude, and worry in her heart. Yes, I will. But first, we need to talk about how dangerous it is to talk to strangers. Meanwhile, Ethan walked back to his car, his mind spinning. Claire Foster was ill, with a child to raise. He couldn't just ignore what had happened. He needed to do something. He needed to help, even if from a distance. He owed her that after everything. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Liam's face, the 5-year-old boy trying to sell his most precious toy to help his sick mother. A mother that he, Ethan, had abandoned years before. Sitting on the edge of the bed in his luxurious apartment, overlooking the river that cut through the city, Ethan contemplated how his life had taken such a different path than Claire's. Everything about his place screamed success. Expensive furniture, artwork on the walls, a Swiss watch on his wrist. He had achieved everything he wanted professionally. He was one of the youngest directors at Hartwell Enterprises, respected in the financial market, with substantial bank accounts and a promising future. But in that moment, looking out the window as the sun began to rise, Ethan felt that all that success was empty. Claire is sick, he thought, remembering Liam's words. And I left her all alone. Guilt was not a new feeling for Ethan. In the first months after leaving Claire, it consumed him. But over time, he learned to bury it somewhere deep, convincing himself he had made the right choice. He wasn't ready for a commitment. The relationship was getting too serious, too fast. Claire would be better off without him. Those were the lies he told himself until he believed them. Now those lies were crumbling. He made a decision. He needed to find out more about Claire's situation, about her illness, about what had happened to her over the years. He couldn't just ignore the encounter with Liam and go on with his life. as if nothing had happened. Ethan called his assistant, cancelling all his meetings for the day. Then he picked up the phone again and hesitated. He still had Claire's old number saved in his contacts, though he'd never had the courage to call. His fingers hovered over her name on the screen, but he gave up. Claire probably wouldn't answer, and he wouldn't blame her. Instead, he decided to do something he never imagined he would: follow Liam. If the boy went out alone to sell toys in the park, he would probably do it again. It was risky, it was strange, but Ethan felt it was the only way to find Claire without just showing up at her door. At 2 in the afternoon, Ethan parked his imported car a block away from the park, where he had met Liam the day before. He wore simpler clothes than his usual suit: jeans, a t-shirt, and a light jacket, trying not to draw attention. He felt like an intruder, a spy in forbidden territory, but he needed to see, he needed to understand. For almost 2 hours, he watched children playing, mothers chatting on benches, and seniors feeding pigeons. There was no sign of Liam. He was about to give up when he saw the boy enter the park again, alone. His heart pounded. Liam seemed to be looking for someone. His eyes swept the park, and Ethan realized with a surge of emotion that the boy was probably looking for him. After all, he'd received more money than he ever imagined for his toy car. Before Ethan could decide whether to approach, Liam spotted him and ran over with a huge smile on his face. "Car man," Liam exclaimed, stopping in front of him, out of breath. "I knew I'd find you again." Ethan felt something strange in his chest, a mix of joy and guilt. "Hi, Liam," he said, crouching to the boy's level. "What are you doing here alone again? Does your mom know you're out?" Liam's smile faded a bit. "No, she was mad yesterday when she found out I left, but I had to find you. Mom said I couldn't accept so much money from a stranger. She wants to give it back." Ethan shook his head, feeling renewed respect for Claire. Even sick, even desperately needing the money, her sense of dignity remained intact. "Where's your mother now, Liam?" Ethan asked, worried about the boy being alone at the park again. "At home, resting. She took her new medicine today, but she said it makes her sleepy." "And she let you leave by yourself?" Liam looked at his own feet, embarrassed. "No, I snuck out again, but it's important. Will you come with me? Then Mom can thank you and return the money." Ethan felt his heart race. He was about to see Claire again after 6 years, the woman he had loved and abandoned, the woman who probably hated him now. "I'm not sure that's a good idea, Liam." "Please," the boy insisted, tugging on his hand. "Mom will be less mad at me if I bring you. She wants to meet you." What Liam didn't say, what he couldn't know, was that Claire already knew him very well. She knew his flaws, his cowardice, his inability to commit, and Ethan doubted she'd want to see him again, but looking at Liam's hopeful face, he couldn't say no. "All right," he finally agreed. "I'll go with you." The walk to Claire's apartment was short, but to Ethan it felt like an eternity. Each step brought him closer to a confrontation he had been avoiding for 6 years. What would he say to her? How would he explain his behavior? Was there any explanation that could justify abandoning someone he loved when things got tough? Liam chatted excitedly by his side, talking about his blue car, about how his mother had bought all the medicine she needed, about how happy he was she would get better now. "This is it," the boy said finally, stopping in front of a 3-story building with peeling paint and a simple entrance. It was an old building in a lower middle-class neighborhood, so different from the luxurious penthouse Ethan lived in. They climbed the stairs, Liam in front, practically hopping with excitement, Ethan behind, his stomach in knots. On the 3rd floor, they stopped in front of a door with the number 302 painted on it. "Mom," Liam called, knocking on the door. "Mom, look who I brought." Muffled footsteps sounded on the other side, and then the door opened. And there she was. Claire looked thinner than Ethan remembered, paler, with dark circles under her eyes. Her brown hair was tied in a simple ponytail, and she wore comfortable clothes, sweatpants and a cotton shirt. Even so, the sight of her made his heart skip a beat. For a moment, Claire didn't recognize him. her gaze focused only on Liam. "Liam, where were you? I woke up and you were gone again. I was about to call the police." Then, slowly, her gaze shifted upward and met Ethan's, and the world seemed to freeze. The little color Claire had drained from her face. Her eyes widened, and her mouth fell open in shock. For a few seconds, she just stared at him, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Ethan," she finally whispered, her tone a mix of disbelief and something else, something that sounded dangerously like hurt. "Hi, Claire," he replied, his voice husky. "It's been a while." The initial shock gave way to something harder, colder. Claire's eyes narrowed, and her posture changed, becoming more rigid, as if preparing for a blow. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice controlled, but Ethan could feel the anger in it. "I met Liam at the park yesterday," he explained, feeling awkward, exposed under her stare. "He offered me his toy car, and I—" He stopped, unsure how to continue. "It was you." Understanding dawned on Claire's face. "You gave him all that money." Before Ethan could answer, Liam interjected, "Mom, this is the car man. He wanted to meet you." Claire shot a look at her son, then back at Ethan. "Liam, go inside and head to your room, please," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "But Mom, now, Liam." The boy looked from Claire to Ethan, confused by the tension between them, but obeyed, entering the apartment with reluctant steps. As soon as Liam disappeared down the hallway, Claire stepped out into the hall, partially closing the door behind her. Her face was pale with anger. "How dare you?" she hissed, keeping her voice low so Liam wouldn't hear. "How dare you just show up like this after all these years?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Claire, I know this seems crazy, but I swear I didn't plan any of it. I really did run into Liam at the park yesterday. He was trying to sell his car, said you were sick, and you decided that after 6 years, now was a good time to come back," she interrupted, her hands trembling slightly. "What do you want, Ethan? To ease your conscience? To feel better about abandoning me when I needed you most?" Each word cut like a knife, and Ethan had no answers to give. He just stood there, staring at the woman he had loved and left behind. "I only wanted to help," he finally said, the words inadequate for the gulf he had created. "Help?" Claire let out a bitter laugh. "Where was your help when I needed it most? Where were you when I had to rebuild my life from scratch? When I had to work 2 jobs while raising a child alone?" Ethan lowered his head, guilt consuming him from within. "I'm sorry, Claire. I know that means nothing now. But I'm sorry for everything. You're right. It means nothing." Her voice was loaded with hurt. "I want you to take your money back and leave my life. We don't need your charity." Claire turned away, entering the apartment and returning seconds later with an envelope in her hand. "Here it is," she said, holding it out to Ethan. "Every cent you gave, Liam. I haven't touched it." Ethan looked at the envelope but didn't take it. "Claire, please. I know I owe you. Please let me help. Liam told me about your medicines, about you being sick." "That's none of your business," she cut him off, still holding out the envelope. "I'm dealing with it. I've been dealing with everything on my own for 6 years. I can continue." At that moment, the door opened wider, and Liam appeared, his large eyes full of confusion. "Mom, why are you mad at the car man?" Claire closed her eyes briefly, as if summoning patience, then knelt down to his level. "I'm not mad, my love. I'm just returning his money because we can't accept it." "But why?" Liam insisted. "Didn't you say we needed money for medicine?" "And for the rent." Claire's face flushed with embarrassment, and she gave Ethan a quick glance before turning back to her son. "Yes, but we can't accept money from strangers, remember? We'll figure it out, like we always do." Liam looked at Ethan, his innocent eyes holding a surprising wisdom for his age. "But he's not a stranger, Mom. He's nice. Come watch my cartoons, mister," he invited, extending his hand to Ethan. Claire stood up quickly, placing herself between Ethan and her son, Liam, not now. The gentleman is leaving. Ethan felt his heart break at the barrier Claire was putting up, but he understood. He had lost the right to be part of their life a long time ago. Your mum's right, Liam, he said, forcing a smile. I'm going now, but it was really nice meeting you. Are you coming back tomorrow? The boy asked, hopeful. Before Ethan could respond, Claire stepped in. Liam, go inside and put your toys away, please. Now. Her tone admitted no argument, and Liam obeyed reluctantly, casting one last look at Ethan before disappearing into the apartment. Once they were alone again, Claire pressed the envelope against Ethan's chest. Take your money and go. Don't come back. Don't look for Liam. We have a good life here without you. Ethan didn't take the envelope. Claire, I know I wronged you. I was a coward, selfish. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, let me help now. Not for me. Do it for Liam. For you. Something changed in Claire's eyes, a flash of tears quickly suppressed. I don't need your pity, Ethan, she said in a lower, more controlled voice. And I certainly don't need you appearing in Liam's life, only to vanish again when you get tired of playing benefactor. Her words hit Ethan like a punch. She was right, of course. What guarantee did Liam have that he wouldn't run away again when things got tough? I won't disappear, he promised, his voice firm. Not this time. Claire studied him, her eyes searching for something in his face. Whatever she was looking for, she seemed not to find it. Words are easy, Ethan. Actions are what matter, and your actions have already shown me all I need to know about you. She held out the envelope again. Please, take this and leave. If you really want to help, respect my wishes and leave us in peace. Ethan hesitated, but finally took the envelope. Not because he agreed to leave, but because he knew this battle would not be won today. Claire needed time, and he needed to prove he had changed. I'll respect your wish today, he said, putting the envelope in his pocket. But I won't give up so easily, Claire, not anymore. She didn't reply, merely opened the apartment door wider, preparing to step back inside. Just answer one thing, Ethan asked, before she could close the door. What do you have? Liam said you're sick. For a moment, it seemed Claire wouldn't answer. Her face was turned away, her shoulders tense. Severe anemia and an autoimmune condition affecting my kidneys, she said at last, her voice neutral, as if speaking to a stranger. Nothing that can't be controlled with the right treatment. Treatment I can pay for myself. Thank you very much. Before he could say anything else, Claire stepped into the apartment and firmly shut the door. Ethan stood in the corridor, staring at the closed door, feeling as if he had lost something precious for the second time. But this time, he wouldn't run. He wouldn't abandon Claire again, even if she didn't want him around, even if she hated him. Somehow he would find a way to help, a way to prove he had changed. As he walked down the stairs of the building, he heard a window open above him. Glancing up, he saw Liam leaning out of the windowsill, waving excitedly. Bye, Carman, the boy called out. Come back tomorrow. Ethan smiled and waved back, his heart feeling lighter for a moment. Claire might try to keep her distance, but something told him Liam wouldn't make it easy. And maybe, just maybe, that 5-year-old boy was the bridge he needed to fix what he had broken so many years ago. No, he wouldn't run away this time. He wouldn't leave Claire to face her illness alone. He wouldn't let Liam grow up without knowing him. This time he would stay and fight for what mattered. Even if Claire didn't want him in her life, he would find a way to help. Because now he understood what he hadn't understood 6 years ago. Some things are worth fighting for, even when the road is hard. Especially when the road is hard. Ethan looked at Claire's building from across the street, sitting in his car for almost an hour. He had come back the day after their confrontation, as he had promised himself, but didn't have the courage to go up. The memory of Claire's icy stare and the harsh words she had said was still too fresh. On the third day, he finally gathered his courage. Not to knock on her door again, he knew that would only result in more rejection, but to do something else. Something that would prove he really had changed, that he was no longer the man who ran away years ago. His first stop was at the building's management office. The place was old, but there was a small office on the ground floor where a middle-aged woman managed paperwork. "Good morning," Ethan greeted, flashing his most charming smile. "I'm looking for information about apartment 302. The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Martinez, raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "A friend of the family," Ethan replied in a casual tone. "I heard they're having some financial difficulties, and I'd like to help." "Apartment 302. Oh, Mrs. Foster," said Mrs. Martinez, flipping through a register book. "Yes, she's 2 months behind on her rent. Such a shame, she was always so punctual." Ethan felt a pang in his chest. Claire's situation was worse than he had imagined. "How much is the total amount owed?" Mrs. Martinez gave him the figure, adding, "I know she's going through health problems. She has a young child to raise all by herself. I tried to give her more time, but the owner is pushing for eviction." Ethan pulled out his checkbook. "I'll settle it right now," he said, writing a check covering not only the back rent, but the next 3 months as well. "But please, don't mention my name. Just say it was a clerical error, that the payments had already been processed." Mrs. Martinez eyed him with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Why the anonymity?" Ethan hesitated, then opted for honesty, "Because she wouldn't accept my help directly. I have a debt to Claire, one I'm trying to repay, even if she doesn't know." Something in his tone must have convinced the woman, because she nodded slowly. "All right, Mr. Miller, Ethan Miller." She wrote down his name next to the check. "I'll let her know there was a mistake in the records and that her rent is up to date." "Thank you," Ethan said, feeling a small sense of relief. It was the least he could do, but it was a start. His next stop was the local pharmacy. It took some time to persuade the pharmacist to cooperate with his plan, but a generous incentive helped overcome any ethical reservations. "Mrs. Foster has a monthly medication plan," the pharmacist explained after checking the records, "but she usually can only buy part of the prescribed drugs. She prioritizes the most essential." Ethan felt another pang of guilt. While he lived in a luxurious apartment and spent more on dinner than many people earned in a month, Claire was choosing which vital medicines she could afford. "I want to pay for a full year of medication," he said, surprising even himself with the decision. "Create some sort of credit in the system. She mustn't know it was me. How will I explain that to her?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Tell her it's a new program from the drug manufacturer, a subsidy for patients with her condition." With the rent and medication taken care of, Ethan needed to figure out a way to get closer to Claire without her immediately rejecting him. And the answer came in the form of Liam. The next day, he positioned himself near the park where he had found the boy. He knew it was risky, Claire might see him, and that would ruin everything, but he needed to try. After almost an hour of waiting, luck smiled on him. He saw Liam enter the park alone once again. The boy had snuck out again, Ethan concluded, worried about this dangerous habit. But it was also an opportunity. He watched from a distance for a few minutes, seeing how Liam played on the slide, his face lit up by the simple joy of childhood. Something inside Ethan warmed at the sight. Finally, he approached casually. "Hey, Liam," he greeted when the boy stopped near him to retrieve a ball. Liam's eyes widened in recognition, and a huge smile spread across his face. "Carman," he exclaimed, abandoning the ball and running over to him. "You came back." "I did," Ethan confirmed with a smile. "But tell me, does your mum know you're here alone again?" Liam's smile faded slightly. "No, she's resting. She's not feeling well today." Ethan frowned, worried. "Liam, it's dangerous for you to go out alone like this. Your mum must be really worried." "But I wanted to see you again," Liam protested. "You never came back to our house." Ethan's heart tightened as he realized the boy had been waiting for him. "Your mother made it pretty clear she doesn't want me around," he explained gently. "And we have to respect that." "But why?" Liam asked, confused. "You're nice and you helped with the medicine." Ethan sighed, thinking of how to explain something so complicated to a 5-year-old. Sometimes adults have problems kids don't understand, he finally said. Your mom has good reasons to be upset with me. Liam looked dissatisfied with that explanation, but didn't push. Instead, he grabbed Ethan's hand. Do you want to see my new drawing? He asked, changing the subject as only children can. I drew a car just like yours. For half an hour, Ethan found himself completely absorbed in Liam's world. The boy showed him drawings he had brought along, told him stories about school, and demonstrated how his remote-controlled car could do stunts. You really like that car, don't you? Ethan commented, noticing how carefully Liam handled the toy. It's my favorite, Liam confirmed. I got it for my birthday. Mom said it was really expensive, but that I'm a very special boy. Ethan smiled at the boy's enthusiasm. When's your next birthday? In 2 months, Liam replied, his eyes shining. I'm going to be 6. Mom said she's going to make a chocolate cake, which is my favorite. The conversation continued, and Ethan lost track of time. He was so engrossed in Liam's stories that he almost forgot the circumstances that had brought them together. But reality wasn't long in coming. Liam! A woman's voice, filled with panic, cut through the air. Liam, where are you? Ethan froze at the sound of Claire's voice. He turned slowly and saw her at the park entrance, pale and visibly distressed, frantically searching for her son. Liam waved excitedly. Mom, over here! Look who I found! Claire's expression when she saw Ethan was a mix of shock and fury. She ran over, pulling Liam close to her. What do you think you're doing? She hissed at Ethan, her eyes flashing with anger. First you give my son money, and now you lure him away from home. That's not what happened, Ethan defended himself, keeping his voice calm. I found Liam by chance. He came here alone. Mom, it's true, Liam interjected, confused by his mother's reaction. I came looking for Ethan. He's nice. Claire looked at her son, then back at Ethan, still suspicious. We're going home, Liam, she said finally, her voice more controlled but still tense. Don't ever do this again, understand? I was terrified when I woke up and couldn't find you. I'm sorry, Mom, Liam mumbled, looking down. Before they could walk away, Ethan called out, Claire, wait! She paused but didn't turn around. Just stay away from my son, she said, without looking back, and continued walking, holding Liam's hand. Ethan watched them go, feeling defeated, but he didn't give up. If he couldn't approach them directly, he would keep helping in other ways. In the weeks that followed, he kept his word. He didn't seek out Liam again, respecting Claire's boundaries, but he continued his discreet assistance. From Mrs. Martinez, he learned that Claire had almost collapsed with relief upon discovering her rent was up to date due to a clerical error. She hugged me, the manager said it was a miracle. From the pharmacist, he learned that Claire had been shocked and emotional about the program that would cover her medications. She cried right here in the pharmacy, the man said, leaving Ethan with a mix of relief and guilt. His next action required more planning. Through quiet investigation, he discovered Liam attended a local public school. It was a decent school, but lacked resources. 2 weeks and several phone calls later, Ethan made a generous anonymous donation to the school, specifically to start a music and arts program. He imagined Liam's face lighting up upon hearing about the new activities, and it gave him more satisfaction than any professional achievement ever had. But it was an unexpected encounter that truly changed everything. Nearly a month after the incident at the park, Ethan was leaving a meeting at the city's medical center when he spotted a familiar figure in the lobby. Liam was sitting alone in a chair too big for him, swinging his legs nervously and hugging a small teddy bear. Ethan hesitated. Claire was probably nearby, and she wouldn't be happy to see him. But he couldn't just ignore the boy, who looked scared and lonely. He approached cautiously. Hey, Liam, he greeted, keeping a respectful distance. Everything okay? Liam's face lit up when he saw him. Ethan, he exclaimed, jumping off the chair. Are you here to see Mom too? Ethan frowned, confused. See your mom? She's here? Liam nodded. suddenly looking serious. "Mom's sick again. The lady at the front desk said I should wait here while the doctor talks to her." He clutched his teddy bear tighter. "I'm scared." Ethan's heart ached at the fear in the boy's eyes. "I'm sure your mom will be fine," he said, sitting next to Liam. "The doctors here are very good." "What if she's not?" Liam asked in a small voice. "What if she ends up like Thomas's mom, who went to heaven?" Ethan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the question. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that sometimes there are no guarantees? "Your mom is very strong," he finally said, placing a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder. "And she has the best reason in the world to get better." "What reason?" "You," Ethan replied simply. "She loves you more than anything." Liam seemed to think about that, then asked, "Can you stay with me until Mom comes out?" The question took Ethan by surprise. He knew he should say no, that Claire wouldn't approve, but he couldn't refuse those pleading eyes. "Sure," he agreed, preparing to face Claire's anger later. "I'll stay right here with you." Over the next hour, Ethan did everything he could to distract Liam. He told stories, played simple guessing games, and even taught him how to make a paper airplane out of an old waiting room magazine. When finally a nurse appeared, looking for Liam, Ethan braced himself for the inevitable confrontation. "She's ready to go home," the nurse said, smiling kindly at Liam. "Your mom is waiting for you in room 12. Liam jumped up, excited, but then looked at Ethan, hesitant. "Are you coming too?" Ethan shook his head. "I think I'd better not, champ." "Your mom probably won't be very happy to see me." Liam pursed his lips, disappointed but nodded. Then, on impulse, he gave Ethan a quick hug. "Thanks for staying with me," he said, before following the nurse down the hallway. Ethan stood there, touched by the simple yet deeply meaningful gesture. He was about to leave when the nurse returned, looking confused. "Excuse me, but Mrs. Foster is asking who was with her son," she said. Liam mentioned an Ethan. He hesitated, then decided to face the situation head-on. "That's me," he admitted. "You can tell her I'm leaving." The nurse seemed relieved. "Actually, she asked you to come over." Room 12 at the end of the hall. Surprised, Ethan walked down the corridor, his heart pounding. What could Claire want? More scolding, more warnings to stay away. When he entered room 12, he found Claire sitting on the edge of a hospital bed, looking exhausted but alert. Liam stood by her side, holding her hand and talking animatedly. "Jan Ethan taught me to make a paper airplane that really flies," Liam was saying, "and he said you're the strongest person he knows." Claire looked up as Ethan entered, and for a moment he couldn't read her expression. "Hi," he said hesitantly. "The nurse said you wanted to see me." Claire studied his face for a long moment before answering. "Liam said you stayed with him for over an hour," she said finally. "That you helped him not be scared." Ethan shrugged, embarrassed. It seemed like the right thing to do. A strange silence fell over the room, broken only by Liam's constant chatter, seemingly oblivious to the tension between the adults. "Thank you," Claire finally said, her voice low but firm, "for taking care of him." Ethan nodded, surprised by her unexpected gratitude. "Anytime," he replied sincerely. "He's a great kid." Another silent moment. Then Claire continued. "I know you're behind the clerical errors with my rent," she said, catching him off guard again, "and the miraculous subsidy program for my medications." Ethan opened his mouth to deny it, but Claire held up a hand. "Please don't insult my intelligence. There are too many coincidences since you reappeared." He closed his mouth, resigned. "How did you figure it out?" "I have my ways," she replied vaguely. "The point is, why? Why are you doing all this?" It was a question Ethan had been asking himself for weeks. At first it had been because of guilt, a desire to make amends for the past. But now, "Because I want to help," he replied simply, "not to feel better about myself or to earn your forgiveness. Just because it's the right thing to do." Claire watched him closely, as if assessing the sincerity of his words. "Liam really likes you," she said at last. He can't stop talking about the car man. Ethan felt a warmth spread in his chest at that. I like him a lot too, he admitted. He's special. Claire sighed, seeming to make a hard decision. I'm not ready to forgive you, she said bluntly. I don't know if I ever will be, but... She hesitated, glancing at Liam, who was now busy with his teddy bear. Maybe we can work something out, for Liam's sake. What kind of arrangement? Ethan asked, barely daring to breathe. You could see him occasionally, supervised visits. At the park. Maybe harm, or... She paused, as if she couldn't believe what she was about to say. Maybe at the apartment. Sometimes. It was more than Ethan had ever hoped for. I'd like that very much, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you, Claire. She nodded, still cautious, but something in her gaze had softened. I'm not doing this for you, she clarified. I'm doing it for him. Liam needs positive male figures in his life. I understand, Ethan said, accepting the implied conditions. No expectations, no pressure,